in a brazen display of economic warfare. The West has unleashed a relentless assault on China's booming economy, igniting a fierce and unprecedented clash that threatens to reshape global power dynamics. The G7 summit, once a symbol of diplomatic decorum, has become the battleground for an all-out attack on Beijing's ambitions, exposing the deep-seated animosities and strategic rivalries that have been simmering beneath the surface, with a series of coordinated strikes targeting everything from electric vehicles to advanced computer chips. The Western powers are pulling no punches in their quest to curtail China's meteoric rise. The European Union's audacious move to slap crippling tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, coupled with the US's draconian restrictions on cutting-edge technology, marks a new era of economic hostilities. This isn't just about trade. It's a full-blown economic siege aimed at stifling China's technological advancements and economic expansion. Washington and Brussels are not just tightening the screws. They're driving a wedge into the heart of China's economic juggernaut, risking a retaliatory spiral that could plunge the world into a new Cold War. As if the economic barrage weren't enough, the West's diplomatic offensive is equally incendiary, reviving the contentious issue of Tibet and accusing Beijing of aiding Russia's war efforts. The US and its allies are poking at China's most sensitive nerves, daring Beijing to respond. This multi-pronged onslaught, a blend of economic sanctions and provocative political moves, is pushing the boundaries of international relations to their breaking point. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the repercussions of this escalating confrontation are poised to reverberate across the globe. Will Beijing capitulate under the immense pressure, or will it strike back with equal ferocity, igniting a chain reaction that could destabilize the global economy? The world watches with bated breath as this high-stakes drama unfolds, revealing the true extent of the West's resolve to curb China's ascent. Stay with us till the end as we dissect every twist and turn of this explosive geopolitical saga, where the future of global dominance hangs in the balance.
The Commission has also pre-disclosed today the level of provisional countervailing duties it would impose on imports of battery electric vehicles.
What I want to emphasize is that this anti-subsidy investigation is a typical case of protectionism. China will take all necessary measures to firmly safeguard its legitimate rights and interests.
Hello and welcome back to Innovative Check YouTube channel, where we delve into the innovative and transformative projects changing our world. If you're new to the channel and enjoy learning about innovation stories around the world, you've come to the right place. Please subscribe, like, and comment to help boost our videos on YouTube. A lot of issues will be discussed during this G7 summit, and one of the major topics would be China. The West has a number of issues with Beijing, and it seems that they have finally decided to take a stand. It's not just some simple rebuke this time. The West seems to have launched a multi-dimensional attack on China, targeting the Chinese economy and their diplomatic aggression. Basically, it's just short of an actual physical confrontation. A number of attacks, in fact, have been launched back-to-back. The U.S. decided to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, ranging from about 17.7% to a whopping 38%. Major Chinese companies like dissect and Geely will face these tariffs. Chinese EVs had been gaining ground in the European Union. In 2019, their market share was just 1%, but now it's closer to 8%. The reason for this growth was the cheap prices. Chinese EVs typically cost 20 less than the European ones, so the NCU has decided to nullify China's price advantage. As you can imagine, Beijing is not happy about this. What I want to emphasize is that this anti-subsidy investigation is a typical case of protectionism. China will take all necessary measures to firmly safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. Beijing has issued a warning that the EU tariffs could start a chain reaction, possibly a trade war, but the Europeans will have support from their biggest backer, the United States of America. Washington had announced a similar tariff hike last month. U.S. tariffs on Chinese EVs were increased to 100, so Europe still lags behind, but it's a clear signal that the West is united in its opposition to China. That was one battlefront: Chinese electric vehicles. The next one is advanced computer chips. The U.S. has been fighting a chip war with China since 2022. Just a quick reminder to hit the like button below. YouTube has been restricting my videos a lot recently because of bots, so your like does help out this video massively in terms of the algorithm in YouTube. It has been trying to restrict Beijing's access to advanced chips, like the ones used to power artificial intelligence technology. It seems the US is planning to up the ante. It is planning a new round of restrictions, not just on American-made chips, but also on chips made using American technology. There's a technology called Gate-All-Around, or GIA, which is used to improve chip performance and reduce power consumption. This technology is patented, so the US wants to block the exports of anything made using this tech. It would be another blow to China's chip sector, marking an escalation in the US-China chip war. The third prong is less direct and involves sanctions against Russia. The US is planning more sanctions, and this time Chinese firms will become collateral damage. The US believes that China is helping Russia evade sanctions. It says Chinese firms are sending microchips, drone parts, and weapon components to Russia. So a few dozen Chinese firms were sanctioned yesterday. This won't stop the evasion, though, but it does send a message. Biden is sanctioning China on the eve of the G7 summit. He will want the ETA2 to follow suit. And if Europe joins in on the sanctions, Beijing will have to deal with another battlefront. So, EVs, chips, and sanctions. These are the West's economic targets. But the US and Canada have begun a diplomatic assault as well. After decades, they're reviving the issue of Tibet. Yesterday, the US Congress passed a bill urging Beijing to re-engage with the Dalai Lama to find a resolution to the China-Tibet dispute. The American bill comes on the heels of a Canadian one. The Canadian Parliament passed a motion on Monday, unanimously supporting the Tibetan people's right to self-determination. Both these acts are symbolic. Canada and the US cannot force China to free Tibet. But bringing up the issue could make China uncomfortable and throw some light on Beijing's imperialistic behavior. That is another attack, the fourth in a few days. It shows that the West is trying to corner Beijing and apply pressure. But will it work? Will Beijing back down with a multi-pronged attack? As the G7 leaders gather, the agenda is packed and tensions are high. The West's stance on China is clear, and the actions taken so far suggest a coordinated effort to curb Beijing's influence and economic power. The response from China, however, is bound to be fierce. The global community watches as these economic and diplomatic maneuvers unfold, anticipating the next moves in this high-stakes geopolitical chess game. If you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and comment. As the G7 summit continues, the implications of these actions on global markets and diplomatic relations become increasingly apparent. The economic friction is not just an isolated issue. It has the potential to disrupt supply chains, impact global trade, and create an atmosphere of uncertainty among investors. Major corporations and financial institutions are keeping a close watch, as any significant escalation could have far-reaching consequences. The Chinese economy, heavily reliant on exports and international trade, is feeling the pressure. Tariffs on electric vehicles, advanced computer chips, and other high-tech components are just the beginning. The ripple effects could touch various sectors, from consumer electronics to automotive industries. Chinese companies, which have enjoyed rapid growth and expansion into international markets, now face significant barriers. The competitive edge that Chinese electric vehicles had with their cost-effective pricing is being eroded by these new tariffs. In the US, the approach towards China is part of a broader strategy to maintain technological supremacy and protect intellectual property. The restrictions on chip exports are not just about economic rivalry. They are about safeguarding national security interests. Advanced chips are crucial for developing a UI, and ensuring that these technologies do not fall into the hands of strategic competitors is a priority for Washington. This stance is backed by major tech companies and defense contractors, who see the value in maintaining a lead in innovation. Meanwhile, the sanctions aimed at Chinese firms, allegedly aiding Russia, add another layer to the geopolitical tension. The U.S. administration, led by President Biden, is using sanctions as a tool to exert pressure on Beijing. The message is clear. Any support for Russia's actions, direct or indirect, will have consequences. This move is likely to push China to reconsider its stance and possibly distance itself from Moscow. At least on the surface, however, China's response has been to double down on its rhetoric of defending its sovereignty and economic interests. The diplomatic offensive on Tibet, led by the US and Canada, is a strategic maneuver to challenge China's human rights record and its policies towards minority regions. By bringing the Tibet issue back into the international spotlight, the West aims to embarrass Beijing and rally support for democratic values and human rights. This tactic, although symbolic, highlights the broader ideological divide between China and the Western democracies. As these multifaceted attacks unfold, the response from China is both defiant and calculated. Beijing is not backing down. Instead, it is fortifying its position, seeking new alliances, and looking for ways to mitigate the impact of these measures. The Chinese government is likely to implement counter-tariffs, restricting imports from the West, and seeking new markets for its goods. Additionally, China is ramping up its efforts in self-reliance, particularly in the technology sector. Investments in domestic chip manufacturing and technological innovation are being accelerated to reduce dependency on foreign technology. The G7 summit, a platform for the world's major economies to discuss pressing global issues, is becoming a stage for this economic and diplomatic showdown. The discussions are intense, with leaders weighing the potential repercussions of their actions. The unity among the Western nations is being tested, as some countries might be more vulnerable to economic retaliation from China. The challenge is to maintain a cohesive front while addressing the individual economic concerns of each member nation. In Europe, the imposition of tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles is a significant step, reflecting a growing concern over the economic imbalance and the need to protect local industries. European automakers, who have been facing stiff competition from their Chinese counterparts, welcome these measures. However, there is also a recognition that a trade war with China could have adverse effects on the European economy. The balance between protecting local industries and maintaining healthy trade relations with China is delicate and complex. As the situation develops, the potential for escalation remains high. Both sides are preparing for a protracted economic battle, with far-reaching implications for global trade and diplomacy. The West's strategy of economic pressure and diplomatic isolation is clear, but China's resilience and strategic countermeasures are not to be underestimated. Throughout this unfolding drama, the role of major global corporations cannot be overlooked. Companies like T.S.M.C and A.S.M.L, which are pivotal in the semiconductor industry, find themselves at the center of this conflict. Their technologies are critical for both the West and China, making their positions and decisions highly influential. These companies must navigate the complex landscape of international regulations, market demands, and geopolitical pressures, all while continuing to innovate and lead in their fields. The G7 summit serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of global economies and the intricate web of relationships that define international trade. As leaders deliberate and make decisions, the impact on everyday lives, from the availability of consumer goods to the stability of jobs in key industries, becomes apparent. The stakes are high, and the outcomes of these discussions will shape the economic and political landscape for years to come. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome your thoughts and questions on this complex and vital subject. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing and growing its influence. Your subscriptions and likes motivate us to generate more content. So please keep supporting us. Check out this video showing on your screen right now, and I will see you on the other side.